Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to SQL 2016 workshop. Today I'm going to tell you how can you start MS SQL 2016 and what are the startup guide and how can you connect to your SQL server and what are the constraints that you should know before starting SQL server. So let's start and have a look what we have today. So guys, before starting I must tell you that MS SQL 2016 is one of the most latest versions of SQL. SQL is not a new software, it is almost 20 years old, and you may find the SQL Server 20 or 2000 version also online. Okay, so this is a whole new version of the SQL Server, that is 2016. And now let me show you how can you start this MS SQL 2016 and how can you connect to your particular RDBMS. So let's see. Right guys, so that's my SQL Server 2016. How can you open this? Just go to your start menu and right here SQL Server. You can find this SQL Server Management Studio. If I write here completely SQL Server, look, SQL Server Management Studio. I will also tell the installation in the end of this workshop, okay, but right now I'm just starting with this particular startup of the SQL Server. Alright, so I have opened it. Now you see a pop-up is appearing here, but first of all you cannot go further until and unless you cross this pop-up. So what it is saying to provide your authentication details, otherwise I will not continue. So you have to provide your authentication details based on the following parameters. So the first parameter is the server type. Here you can select your type of service that you are going to access from your Microsoft SQL Server. So for the purpose of this particular workshop I am going to use this database engine, and if you are using some other tools like analysis services and reporting services and integration services, so you can connect your SQL Server with these services also. So first of all database engine and then the server name. Because SQL is a whole complete server, you can use it in an entire intranet, you can use it on the internet in Windows, Azure, Microsoft Azure, and you can use in the local network also. Okay, so if you are using on a single PC, just give the name of the PC here, simple. If you are using on a local network or intranet, just provide the IP address of your PC to connect, or you can use the simple dot for connecting this SQL server, that is known as the server name. So you can specify any of the things that I have mentioned, either IP address or the name of the PC, or you just enter the dot, whatever you wish to. So right now the name of my PC is here, you can specify IP also. Now the authentication mode. Here you can notice you have two authentication modes by default, and these are other authentication modes, but we are not going to look at this because these two are enough for us to demonstrate here in this workshop. So the first thing is the Windows authentication. Authentication is the process where you authenticate or verify a user with respect to the username and the password provided by him or her. Okay, so based on the authentication you can verify yourself whether you are a true user or not. So in SQL you can connect with two authentication modes by default, that is SQL Server Authentication and the Windows Authentication. And when you select the Windows Authentication, it is not required to enter the username and password. Instead it will pick up the currently logged in user that is there. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now if you are using SQL Server Authentication, then you can use the login name and you can use the password. So by default, if you don't know the login name, the default login name is SA. SA stands for System Administrator. Okay, and then you can specify the password, whatever the password you have mentioned when you are installing the SQL Server. So after giving the username and the password, you just click connect. Look, you are now connected. When you connect to your SQL Server, you notice here a window that is known as Object Explorer is appearing in front of you, and I have clicked it and I am floating it on my screen, and you see the pointers that are appearing in the middle of the screen, in the top and the bottom and the left and the right. These are the docks on which you can make this window stick at a particular position on the screen. So let me stick it on the left. So I hope it is clear to everyone what was that. So this is the beauty of this Microsoft products, that they can be very customizable even on runtime. So now what's next? You can see here there are different folders, and the very first folder is known as database. When you install MS SQL Server, you find some of the databases by default like reporting server and the report server tempdb and some other databases also, and these names that you are looking at, these are my already created databases. Okay, so I must tell you how can you start with the database and how can you then do the other things. So that's my database folder. In this folder your databases will be displayed and created and manipulated, whatever you wish to do. And then you have the security folder. Inside the security folder you can manage your logins. So let's say if you wanted to create a new user, you can create a new user just by coming here. How can you create a new user? By right clicking here and then create new login. So a pop-up will appear and then it is asking me to give the login name. Let's say I have given Ali, and then I am using SQL Server Authentication and I am providing a password, let's say 12345, and the confirmed password is 12345. Because it is a whole complete server, you can enforce the password policy, you can enforce the password expiration, and you can enforce that the user must change the password as first login, because you are the administrator and you are creating an SQL Server user for your particular organization. So you can give the user a right that you must change your password when you first log into your SQL Server at your point, at your PC. I hope it is clear to everyone. So if you don't wish to do anything, uncheck these things. So no password inspiration, no policy will be applied. Simple, a user will be created with the particular username and a password. Now there are other rules also. So if you wish to see them, you can do that. But at the beginner level, I recommend you to do not use these things right now. These are not so much mandatory. Now the next thing that you must see is the default database if you are creating a new user. So let's say what is the default database that this user can access. So you can specify the database for this user also. By default it is master, and master means you can access everything. Simple. And then the default language, you can specify any other language also, and then just click OK. So when you press OK, and a new user will be generated with the name Ali. And now if you can disconnect it, and if you connect it again and then click right here Ali, and then password is 12345, and when then you connect, it will be connected with the Ali. Okay, and then you can specify the security settings later on. I will tell how can you apply the security based on different users on SQL Server. So I hope it is clear to everyone. Now there are other things as well. Server objects, this is also an advanced concept, so leave it right now. And then we have the replication services. I'm just giving you the concept. What are replication services? Let's say you have an application deployed somewhere at some shop, okay, and that shop has 4 to 5 branches all over the city, and every branch is doing business and recording the data on their particular desktop application where their shop is. And now at the end, every shop has to send the data to the server. So how can this be possible? This can be possible with the help of replication services. So at the end you specify these replication services, and then at the end on that particular specified time, the data will be copied or moved or pushed to the centralized location where your server is. So that's what replication services are. You don't need to create the backups, and you don't need to do or move or copy or create the scripts, all that. Just you need to apply the replication services, and in the end the data will be moved to the server. You don't need to do anything. So that's what replication is. A new feature in MS SQL 2016 is the polybase. So it is also not installed here because I have installed it with a limited functionality. So we'll discuss it later on, and then the other features are also there. Let me tell you about the management. Here you can specify the policy management. You can create policies, you can do events, you can see the logs of SQL Server, and you can use other functions also. So these are all advanced concepts. Into the purpose of this workshop is to give a roundabout on this database folder, and here you can manage everything. In this particular workshop we can see the entire things with respect to the databases that we have and the databases that we create here. Okay, so hopefully you have understood the introduction, how you can start your SQL Server, how you can connect your SQL Server. If you do not understand anything, please do write me. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.